access point, Alta Labs is a relatively new player in the Wi-Fi access space, and this was purchased by me for the purposes of conducting a review and putting it through its paces. So I did buy the AP6 professional model. We'll go through that really quickly. So first things first is if you look at the access point over here, there are basically two models that Alta Labs sells right now. One is the AP6, the other one is the AP6 Pro. The main difference is that the AP6 Pro is got better, radios in it. So it's got a 4x4 for the 5 gigahertz band, while as the AP6 has a 2x2 for the 6 gigahertz band. But on both of them, the 5 gigahertz band is 2x2. Also on top of that, the Pro unit is IP54 weatherproofed, so this could be utilized for external applications. Now, this is literally brand new. I haven't unboxed it even. I haven't used it. I haven't set it up. I haven't done anything. So this is going to be a really nice video because we're going to walk through the setup of this, together. So let me show you what the box has inside, and we'll go from there. So we have the Alta Labs box over here. You can see this is the Pro model over here. Very simple box, but it does look nice. Kind of reminds me of a higher end product, consumer product, and that's kind of a little bit concerning for me because, how do I put this? The good products come in the brown box because it's what inside that matters, right? Not the outside. So, but we will see. I do have faith in Alta. We will have a test and we'll see the functionality of the product. So, first time unboxing it, let's have a look. So you open it up. This is what it looks like. The access point is right in the middle over here. It's got a plastic holder, I guess, and that is the base. That's what the base looks like. It's got a PoE Ethernet port over here. There's no other port, and it does seem like it's a metal construction. The top is plastic, and it's got that soft finish on it, similar to Ubiquiti products. So far it's looking good, and as you can see, it does fit in the palm of my hand, or it's about the size of my palm of my hand, so it is not enormous. Okay, on to the rest of the unboxing. So we have a little pamphlet over here, kind of explains you about the setup procedures. So let's see what exactly this is. This is some warranty information, I guess. Oh, it's a safety information. So all right, so that's one. We have a bracket. So I guess this is the wall mount bracket. We have a little, see this? There we go. So we do have a, screws and whatnot and some rubber feet over here. So that's really nice, nicely packaged. Again, this is a look at the wall mount holder. And there's also another plate over here, which I'll have to figure out how to set up. But it looks fairly easy. You see the Alta Labs logo over here. So pretty nice. So let's have a look at how this would work. Okay, at the bottom of the access point, there is a exposed reset switch, which is pretty nice because, instead of using a pin or something, small, when you're on site, these things really do help a lot. It's a small touch, but it really does help. So let's see how this would work. So this would work something like that. Actually, the other way around. Nope, it was correct. This way. All right, so after checking the online manual, I did figure out how to install this. And honestly, I think Alta Labs should improve the mounting mechanism. So the way you mount it is once you've got this screwed into the wall, and this would be the back plate for if you've got the removable ceiling tiles, right? So this would be kind of be the back plate. And if you look at this, these hooks here, you know, actually let me take it out of the bag. There we go. So you can see this is folded metal over here. This is more for if you've got, you know, those bars, I guess, when you have the ceiling tiles, you could kind of like lock it in like this and, you know, lock it into the bar, right? Like those little dividers between the ceiling tiles. Anyways, so in my case, since this will be installed into the ceiling, the installation, I honestly don't like it. It is like this. So you click it like this, you push it in, and you twist it one way. Let's see, you twist it one way. There we go. And you twist it the other way, like that. There we go. Now it's locked in. Okay, so I really don't like this method of setup. I wish it was a little bit more seamless. However, to remove it, if you look at it from you know, this perspective over here, I guess you would put in a screwdriver or something to push this down to release the clip a little bit, and then twist again. See, there we go. Twist one way and then twist the other way, and then it comes out. I really don't like the installation method. I wish it was much better. By far the best installation method I've seen for any access point out there has to be from Aruba and Aruba products. So Aruba Instant On, Aruba Proper, where you know there's like a little divot, you put it in there and you literally just twist and it just clicks into place, and you untwist and it clicks out of place. Very, very nice mounting method for Aruba. This one, while it does work, it does leave a lot to be desired. Anyways, let's look at the hardware also. There's a little plug thing over here, so you can pop this out. There we go. It's a little plastic piece so your cable can go through here. So that's pretty much it. There's not anything else in the box. Box is pretty sparse. It's just got your mounting plate, the metal bracket for the back, and a bunch of screws over here. Enough to get the access point mounted, and that's all that matters. And I did notice that there is no provision in this access point for any power adapter of sorts. There's no barrel jack or anything, or USB-C. So this is strictly going to be PoE powered. So that being said, let me go get this installed somewhere, and we will continue the video. Okay, so we have the access point right here, and I'm going to plug in a PoE Ethernet to it, and let's just see how we can get this set up. So here we go, plugged in. And one thing I really like about the Alta is the speed at which things happen. So startup, boot up is exceptionally fast. Let's give it a quick refresh and we should be able to see this fairly quickly. Once these lights stop blinking, it will, I guess, connect to the online controller and present itself to you, right? So there we go. It's white now. And if we do a quick refresh, we should be able to see this on the screen. There we go. So it just took a couple of seconds. So that's the new AP. It gives you the MAC address and, of course, version 1.1F. Now, a little bit of history, right? So if you notice that the beginning part of the video, the hardware overview was reviewed or actually filmed, I would say about 2 weeks ago now, and this part of the video is 2 weeks later. So there's a couple of news about the firmware that I would like to tell you. One is that when I got this, I think it was version 1.1C or D. You know, pretty much immediately after plugging it in, there was an update, so the update worked. But as I started transitioning over all my devices at the home, like basically making this the main device, I noticed a lot of bugs and issues in the controller to the point where I had to raise an issue with Alta Labs, and due to this issue, they actually released 1.1F. So since the release, there have been a couple of other bugs, which I will kind of explain later, but let's get on with setting this up because it's actually really easy. So we're going to hit the setup button, and as you can see here, it's showing disconnected. but then this will flip over to connected pretty quick. There we go. So it's actually now connected to the controller or associated to the controller. We can click here and give it a name that we want. So for example, we'll call it AP6 Pro. And that's it. It's set up already with the name. We'll go to settings, we'll go to Wi-Fi, and we'll say add new. We'll create an SSID, we'll call it YouTube test. Now, once you create an SSID, there's different settings that you can use. So, you have a standard, small, large, IoT, internet only, guest. Of course, you can associate VLANs, hard code upload and download limits to this specific SSID. Of course, you can also bypass hotspot, ignore schedule, and bypass the filter. You can also set up filters. So if you click here, it does show you the differences, right? So standard is your pretty standard home network or a network with about 100 devices. Large is optimized for hundreds of thousands of devices. IoT is restricted to the internet and local incoming connections only. Internet is restricted to internet only, and guest is restricted to internet and IoT devices only. Now, again, really nice way of breaking it up, so you can create different SSIDs for different purposes. So we're going to create a standard network here, and we're going to set a password of 12345678990. And we can associate a particular SSID to multiple sites. So right now I only have one site, but let's just say if I was a company and I had hypothetically speaking, let's say if I was a supermarket which had 10 branches across the city, and I wanted to change or create a guest SSID. So what I would do is I could associate this SSID to multiple sites, right? That's one example. Another example would be, of course, is to set it up with different locations in different regions. So for example, different cities, different municipalities, even across the country, right? So you could administer everything from this dashboard, which is very, very nice. So we're just going to hit save for now. There's a couple of different settings here you can see. Default VLAN, and the notes part is actually pretty handy. So we're going to set this up as standard home network. Okay. And we're not going to set any schedules or download limits. Of course, you can turn on WPA3 if you need. And we're going to hit save. And this is what I like about Alta Labs. This is pretty much now active. There's no resynchronization, no blinking of lights. In fact, let me show you on the phone, and you'll see that YouTube test is actually ready to go. So as you can see here, it was pretty quick. It found the SSID, and if we go to devices, we can actually see my Pixel 7 is connected very, very quickly, if I may add. So that's actually really, really nice. You can see it's connected via Wi-Fi 6. This is the channel and port, and of course the access point and the phone are close to each other, so the signal strength is absolutely really high, negative 25 dB, which is pretty high. Now, another thing that can be done also with Alta Labs that's really, really nice is that you can have multiple passwords. Now, for example, if I wanted this device to be an IoT network with a VLAN of, okay, my IoT VLAN is actually 100, so I'm going to set this to VLAN number 100. And for the password, I'm actually going to reverse it. So 0987654321, and I'm going to hit save. So, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to go back to the phone and have a look at it. So if I refresh my screen, the YouTube test is over here. I'm going to disconnect from it, so I'm going to forget it. Okay, so we see one SSID on the screen. We're going to hit YouTube test. Now it's asking us for a password. So I'm going to go 0987654321, which is the one we set for the IoT on VLAN 100. So I'm going to show the password. There we go. And we're going to hit connect. And if you look at the IP address that we've got, it's a 192.168.2. 2.169. So this is actually on my IoT network. You can see here, it's the IoT network, and that's the IP that my Pixel 7 has. Now, let me disconnect again from this YouTube test. Forget it. You can see here that the device disconnected immediately. I'm going to connect the YouTube test again, and I'm going to log in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Show password. Yep, that looks good. Hit connect. And if you look here, you can see here it's a 10, 10, 10, 83 on a completely different VLAN, which is 100. So again, one SSID and multiple VLANs on one SSID, which is absolutely fantastic. This is this technology in Wi-Fi is called PPSK. So again, it's really nice that Alta Labs does support this simply because let's say you're running a company or even at home, you don't want to create multiple SSIDs. You want to create just one, but you want to give a different password for guests. Let's say you have a friend come over, they want to access the internet, use your network. You can actually say, yeah, just connect to the SSID at my home, but here's the password. The password you give them will be a restricted network. Now, I can go as even as far as putting a download limit of let's say 10 here and 1 up. I hit save. Now, again, let's go back to the phone. If I go to speed test, and I hit go, I've got unfettered access to the internet. As you can see, it's pretty fast, almost saturating my gigabit line. All right, so we're going to stop this test. We're going to go back to Wi-Fi, and we're going to forget this, and we're going to reconnect again with the restricted VLAN. So we're going to go to YouTube test again, and we're going to go 0987654321. Hit connect. You can see here now I've got a 192.168.2. Go back to speed test, hit go. As you can see, this is now throttled to roughly about 10 megabits. So again, honestly, I mean, Alta Labs is doing a lot of good things, moving in the right direction. I definitely do like the controller and the functionality. Of course, we go to the other tab here for system. There's LED colors for the access point. So by default, it is selected to white, as you can see over here. But I can change this to blue, and you can see it's fairly instant, right? Like just 1 or 2 seconds. I hit white again, changes back to white, or I can just turn it off if I don't want it. It's off. If I want blue, I'll hit blue. It's back up. So I've also noticed that the connection speeds between the controller, the online controller, cloud controller, and the access point is actually really, really fast. Super fast, in fact. It doesn't take a lot of time. I've trialed a lot of other cloud controller products such as Aruba Instant On, and I've noticed that with Aruba Instant On, the boot up times are excessively long. The connection to the cloud controller is long, but with the Alta, it's very, very instant, and it's actually a breath of fresh air. Any change you make pretty much happens instantly. Another example is that if you want to add another SSID, let's just call it whatever, and make it an open SSID, hit save. Now, if I go back to my phone immediately, this is pretty much there. Oh, there we go. So you saw it over there. It comes up pretty quick. It takes like 10-15 seconds, and even things such as rebooting the router, the access point is super duper fast. Like literally, we're talking about 10 to 15 seconds for boot up and connection back to the network. So that's really, really nice about the Alta Labs AP6 Pro. Honestly, it's pretty good. Now, let's look at a little bit more of the settings here. So you can go to System. Of course, you can change some appearance settings. So for example, the Wi-Fi signal, you want an icon, you want the raw values. That basically means that the raw values are here as opposed to the icon with the strength. So if we go back here and we set this to icon, go back to devices, now it's an icon, showing the Wi-Fi signal, so to speak. So again, very simple, very easy. You can of course change the time zone to whatever you want. We're going to set it to Toronto, and these changes are pretty much instantaneous. Now, I've had a chat with Alta Labs about the automatic device updates because I do not like to do that. I like to kind of, if the access point is working without any issues, there's no point for automatic device updates because you wake up the next morning and it's updated at night and suddenly things have changed and you really don't know what's going on. So I like to leave it off. However, if I go back to settings again, you'll see it's turned on. So for now, Alta Labs has made automatic device updates mandatory. This kind of shows to the newness of the product. So, they do know that there's going to be or there are some issues, bugs that they're working on, and they just want the updates to go out by force to people just so that they get the best experience. So while I do understand why they're doing it, I still don't accept it. I would like to be able to control when the updates happen. Simply because, again, if this is deployed in a production environment, not in a home or, home lab, I would like to, of course, triage or test the updates before I deploy them to my clients. Of course, users are here. You can invite a user to administer the access points, and of course, there's application filtering here. So you can go down here and select applications, or which are the red ones, or if you've seen the blue icons here, these are a group, right? So if you click IoT SCADA, it'll basically block all SCADA applications, right? If you look at media, all mail applications will be blocked. But if you want individual, you can select specific applications that you do want to block. So, for example, if you want to stop all music services, you can click that and it will block all music services on this particular SSID. Now, of course, if I had multiple access points, you would see them all listed here. And one way of kind of grouping the access points is by color, right? It's a very different way of doing things, but it does make sense once you get used to it. Again, if you go to the SSID over here, I can say that this SSID only applies to blue color access points. Okay, so again, these are just ways to kind of group it. You can see here now that the AP6 Pro is only labeled as black. So you can see now that the SSIDs that are being broadcasted are the YouTube test on channel 6, which is the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz and Wi-Fi 6 channels, which is channel 36. And it's not broadcasting the, that funny looking name SSID that I made because it's set on blue, right? So if I want to associate this specific access point to another color, all I have to do is click the icon here and I can edit it and say that this access point also accepts whatever rules I've set for the blue color. If I hit save now, immediately you'll see that the black part is as broadcasting the YouTube test, and the blue part is going to broadcast the other one. Oh, there we go. So you can see that this is the blue one. So any access points that I mark with the blue will broadcast that SSID. So for example, let me give you an example of where this would make sense. Let's take that supermarket example again. Let's say you have a supermarket and you want to give guest SSIDs, all right, open network for guests, but you only want it at the access points in the supermarket. You don't want it, let's say, that same SSID to appear in the office areas, which may be in a different floor or a different area. So let's say in the office you have 2 access points and you only want the normal SSID to be broadcast, but you want the guests to come in the ones that are in the store. So what you would do is you'd go and you mark the access points that are in the store in a particular color, and you would say that, hey, that these access points are blue color, and the blue color access points start broadcasting the guest SSID as well as, say, the corporate or the office SSID. But you can say no, that you want the blue ones to only do guest and maybe something for the POS system, while as in the office you want the POS and you want another SSID for the office. So you can, mix and match based on the colors. It's a very interesting way of doing things, and it took a little bit of time for me to kind of understand it. But once you understand it, it's actually quite powerful. I really do like it. If we look at the dashboard is nothing but just an aggregate of all the devices connected, kind of like real-time bandwidth. Now, if you look at here, we'll see how responsive it is. I'll go to my phone again. I will run a speed test, and you'll see that it is actually pretty instantaneous in terms of showing activity. All right, so you can see here the download is, 10 megabits because this is on that restricted network. In fact, let me just disconnect off that network. I'm going to connect with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, which should give me the unfettered speed, right? So now if I run a speed test, it should be pretty much, there we go. So you can see here immediately, like it just goes up to a gigabit. It's very, very responsive, and it kind of like shows you what's happening. If you hit view more, of course, you can hard code a particular device to a particular network also. So even bypassing what you've set, you can even hard code a particular device to a VLAN. So even though right now this device is connected on VLAN 1, which is my home network, I can say I want this device to be on VLAN 100. If you give it a second, this should get the 192 address. There we go. So you can, it's really powerful. I really like the way things are done. However, that being said, it would be really nice to see some icons or a mark or some indication that custom settings have been applied to this specific device. Because now, let's just say if there's a device which is giving issues and you wanted to check, if that device, is using custom settings, you have to go, let's say there's 10 devices you want to check, you'd have to go to each one, and see, oh, did somebody hard code something there? And is that why it's causing issues? It would be really nice if there was some sort of indication showing that there were some custom settings applied to this device. So we're going to remove that VLAN assignment here, hit save, give it a second. Again, things happen really fast with the Alta network. You can see it boots off the device. This is going to flip over to a 1010. There we go. Pretty quick. Like honestly, that's really, really impressive about the Alta Labs access points so far. Now, let's talk about my experience with the Alta Labs AP6. Now, as I told you, I got the access point about 2 weeks ago now. In the first day, what I decided was I wanted to switch over my whole home network to the Alta Labs AP6. I have close to about 40 to 50 devices on my home network, Wi-Fi devices, so this would be a really good test to see the performance and resiliency of it. So my first day was actually pretty bad. I remember it was a Friday when I got this, set it up, did the swap, everything, all the devices started coming up, and then something happened, and so it wouldn't show any devices. When I logged in, the devices here would show 0, but everything was working fine. I could see no statistics like TikTok, whatever it is. I could see no devices. I could see nothing here, but nothing would be moving here. But all the devices were connected. They all had internet access. Everything was working fine. That's when I raised the ticket with Alta Labs. Now this was on a Friday, probably in the afternoon, 2-3 p.m. Monday morning, I think by 9 or 10 a.m., they already, had the new firmware out. So again, really, really fantastic response time from Alta Labs. And on Monday morning, I updated the firmware and everything started running as intended. So I used the Alta Labs for about 2 weeks to get a better understanding of the performance, the capabilities, and all that other fun stuff about the Alta Labs. So here's my takeaway from it. The Alta Labs AP6 Pro, at least, has fantastic speeds, has fantastic range. I did notice that a lot of the clients, in fact, all the clients that were connecting, the connections were very instantaneous. All right? Like if you look at my phone, you need to get the DHCP address, to negotiate with the SSID. uber fast, way faster than my Ubiquiti access points that I'm used to. Like instant, it was a breath of fresh air. That being said, uh, about 2 days ago, there was another issue with the online controller. So the devices again disappeared. Actually, the devices didn't disappear this time. This time, what happened was the applications part disappeared. I could see no statistics about the applications at all. Even if I went to longer periods, there was absolutely nothing. So it seems to me that the Alta Labs controller is still being fixed. As you can see here, look, see, it shows devices 50. I do not have 50 devices on here. I only have one. So if I had a Control Shift R to kind of force a refresh, there we go. Now you see the one. So there's a little bit of bugs in the Alta Lab controller. I still think that this is not ready for prime time yet. Like when I say prime time, I'm talking about production level deployments. I thought of deploying this to a couple of my clients. Um, I honestly still feel a little bit uneasy about deploying this for my clients. I think it's still a little bit too early for it. Maybe in the next 3 or 4 firmware updates, it will get better. I'm sure it will, but I will definitely keep an eye out for this, and I will, maybe do a follow-up video if I do see any major changes regarding the access point. But that being said, again, very sleek access point. I like the size of it. I like the feel of it. It's a solidly constructed access point. No real creaks and rattles, nothing like that. So really, really nice. I would like to touch a little bit on the mounting bracket because I have a love-hate relationship with it. And the funny thing is that if you go to the Alta Labs forums, a lot of people have actually complained about this, and to the point where Alta Labs actually had to release a video showing people how to use it. Now, again, if it requires a mount requires a manual to set up, there's some issues there, right? But I understand where they're coming from. So let me explain you what I mean. Show you. I'll see if I can show you what I mean. So the way Alta Labs explains it is that you pop it in, and then one side, the clip here is kind of not set. So you have to twist it. Let's see, let's try it again. Click, and nope. There we go. Okay, so it's a very weird, you got to put it in at an angle, then you got to twist it this way, and then you got to twist it that way, and then it clicks in. Like once it's in, it's fine. But if they had to release a video to show people how to mount it, that means that it's tricky, right? Like I'm not saying it's hard, but it's tricky to mount it. If you don't know, you don't know. You'll kind of like struggle when it comes to mounting it. But when I had it mounted, stable mount, it works fine. And even taking it off is, again, you got to twist it this way and then that way. So twist one way, twist the other way, and now it's out. So yeah, a little bit tricky. One more thing I like about the mount, not much, but I do like this part, is that this cutout, this V, this Alta Labs logo, it's an upside down Alta Labs logo. It actually has a functional purpose, which is, normally speaking, it's got this little cutout here for the Ethernet cable to kind of like nestle into, which is great. But there are instances where you want the drop, there's a hole in the wall, you want the drop to come in this little cavity over here. So what would you do, right? Like this mount would be in the way. Well, it's not, because you can actually slide the network cable through here like this. Pop this in here. Well, let's plug it in first. All right, now you have the mount here, and you install the mount as usual. See if I can get this set up. One click. There we go. So now you can see how the cable is coming out of this little, cutout. And so now you could basically have a hole right up here, where the cable's coming out of and have it completely nicely flush, nothing coming out of here. So I understand that the mount is giving you functionalities, but you know, what can I say? I mean, it is a little bit tricky, but once you get used to it, it's fine. But just do know that it is a little bit different. It's different. That's all. Um, I do like also that the mount gives you multiple screw area options. You're not kind of like tied to two screw holes in this area. You can pretty much put screws wherever you want, depending on the holes you've made to make it work. Like I said, it's different. Initially, honestly, I wanted to like kind of say a lot of bad things about the mount, but with time and use, I kind of understand where they're coming from now. Again, but it is a little bit tricky. I'm not gonna lie. There we go. So it's mounted well now. It's fair. It's very stable. No issues there. So plastic mount. I wish it was a little bit more resilient. Maybe metal. Maybe a little bit more secure in certain ways. Um, because especially in corporate environments, they like to like button down the mounts so that you don't have any bad actors trying to come in, remove it, and jack into the network through there or steal it or whatnot. This to me doesn't really seem something that's um, resilient to theft, right? I mean, just easily twist, and you're out and unplug and off to the races you go. So it is what it is. Hopefully, they come up with a revised mount to fix at least those issues. That being said, overall, I think the Alta Labs products are on the right track. I still think they're a little bit not ready for prime time yet. If you want to use it in a home environment or a home lab environment, I think they're fine. But I personally would be a little bit hesitant to deploy this at a production site, at any of my client site right now. I do know that I've had chats with Alta Labs. I do know that they will be updating uh, the controller, the online controller. They have plans on releasing a self-hosted controller, which I think is also a really good idea. And they also plan to add a lot of features and functionality to the Alta Labs products. Again, for me, the statistics are a little bit too sparse. You really can't see much. You really can't dig in. It's all graphical. I want some chart type formats. It's a great product, but I still think it does require a lot of um, enhancements. Now, well, what works? So, the Wi-Fi strength, speed, stability, the speed of authentication and connection. That's all honestly top notch. I really think that they've, got a good chipset in here. This is a Qualcomm-based product. Qualcomm makes great products. So I think from a chipset perspective, a radio perspective, they're good. I think their issues mainly lie on the software end, which is something that is rectifiable, which is a good thing, right? If it was hardware based, they're kind of limited with the hardware. I think the hardware can do way much more, and they also said that they will be releasing more updates and more functionality for these devices. So hopefully that was a good look at the Alta Labs AP6. I'm actually pretty excited about the Alta Labs products. They are coming out with switches. Uh, they have said that they might consider also routers and firewalls, similar to Ubiquiti. It would definitely be nice to have more competition in this particular segment of the market, because I think that Ubiquiti has got a stranglehold on this specific segment, price, performance segment of the market. Omada is there, but they're still also playing catch up. Omada has some catching up to do, and now Alta Labs is in the game. I think having more choice is ultimately better for everyone, right? Ubiquiti again has a very peculiar way of doing things. Ubiquiti has, pros and cons. Everyone has pros and cons. The thing is that it's good to have choice, because then you can pick the particular solution for the problem. Hopefully you like this video. If you like this video, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you soon.